Today I'd like to talk to you about the basics of creating a loop. Let's begin. This will be possibly what your screen will look like. You have the information on the top here, access to what your templates would look like, contacts that you have, tasks that you might have a list of your loops, and then your dashboard. We'll hold off on going into that a little bit more detail a little bit later, but what I'd like to start with is the two different screens that you'd be able to look at. You have this screen, which is your list view. You could then switch over to the grid view. Personally, I prefer the list view because it does give you information about each transaction. It talks to you about what type of transaction it is, whether it's under contract or not. You can put in a purchase price and put in a closing date. So for this listing, I'd be able to, I'd be able to start with indicating whether it's a purchase, a listing for sale, listing for lease, real estate other, or other. Also, once you make a selection, you'll then have additional selections as to whether this is a pre-listing condition, private listing, active listing, if you actually have it under contract, you sold it, or you wish to archive it. You'll also be able to put in information about what the purchase price was, the agreed upon purchase price once you get an offer, and you'll also be able to put in a closing date. With the grid view, all you're going to have is the address of the property and then this circle that you see around here. You notice that part of the circle is red and the rest is gray. This is letting you know that about 20% of my tasks for this particular transaction are done. This one here, you see it's about 50% done. So the red circle around the outside tells you what percentage of your tasks are completed. This number here tells you how many notifications you've received in regards to this transaction. Has someone signed this transaction? Have they completed a form and have sent it back to you? That's the sort of notifications that you should be receiving when you see that. You will also see these numbers with the other view. Let's switch to that. See, you can see that you have the, you still have the circles that indicate the percentage of tasks completed, and you also do have the numbers here. So that's why I prefer this view. Gives you a little bit more information. All right, to create a loop, you just click on Create a Loop. In the grid view, you click on the red circle with the white cross. Once you click those, everything else is the same, so we'll just go ahead and hit Create a Loop. Let's put in the address of the property that you're going to be writing the listing on. That's what I'm going to be doing. As you can see, when I put in the addresses of homes that are already entered into Dotloop start appearing. Make sure you select the right one. 3rd Street, Appleton. Now I want to show you a couple of things. As you can see here, we have both the same addresses, but one says source Dotloop. You can see it right there. The other says source Google Maps. Unless you really understand how this program works, I would highly recommend that you just select Google Maps for this. So we'll select Google Maps. Now we need to select the template. What type of transaction are we going to be doing? The first few are used for the administrative staff here, so don't worry about that. Let's go down to the next ones, and you can see I have residential listing, condo listing, multifamily listing, vacant land, condo purchase, multifamily, vacant land, and residential purchase. Seeing as how I'm doing a listing, I would select the residential listing. Of course, when you create your own loop, select whatever best fits your circumstance. Hit select listing and then hit create loop. When you do this, what will happen is all the forms that you will need will automatically load into your loop. That's step one as to how to create a loop in Dotloop.